What if a little girl vanished into thin air, and her own parents didn't bother to report her missing for nearly 10 months? Her parents would later be arrested for child endangerment, but not for their missing daughter. Her mom has now been released from prison, but still no answers on what happened to Oakley. This is the heartbreaking and infuriating case of Oakley Lynn Carlson, a 4-year-old little girl who once thrived in a loving foster home, only to be returned to a nightmare of alleged abuse, starvation, and a locked cell under the stairs. Her last credible sighting was February 2021, but Oakley still has not been found, and so many questions still remain. Her parents remain the prime persons of interest, yet no one has been charged with her disappearance. Today, we're diving deep into the missed warning signs, the shocking family secrets, and the failed child welfare system. Where is Oakley Carlson? Welcome to Trending Docket. This is Michelle. Please subscribe so you don't miss any other updates. This is the case of Oakley Carlson. Born on December 6, 2016 in Washington State, Oakley Carlson entered into a world that was already unstable. Her biological parents, Andrew Carlson and Jordan Bowers, were anything but loving. They both had a history of red flags from early on. Andrew had worked as a police officer in Aberdeen, Washington, but issues with being trustworthy started to come up. He was terminated for making false statements to his employer and was placed on the Brady list. The Brady list is a list used for officers with credibility issues. Then we have her mom, Jordan, who had prior involvement with Child Protective Services. Back in 2013 and 2014, there were findings of abuse and neglect that included domestic abuse, physical abuse, and parental substance abuse, long before Oakley went missing. When Oakley was just 7 months old, she was removed from their home and placed into foster care with Eric and Jamie Jo Hiles. For the next 2.5 years, the Hiles gave Oakley the stable, loving home she deserved. She was thriving, happy, and deeply bonded with the only family she truly knew. The Hiles even hoped to be able to adopt her eventually. But reunification with the biological parents is often the goal in the child welfare system. Maybe they should get new goals. In 2019, despite warnings from the foster parents, Oakley was returned to Andrew and Jordan just before her 3rd birthday. Oakley's life went from safe and loving to anything but. Oakley went back to live with her bio parents, Andrew and Jordan, and 3 siblings. They lived on a large rural property in Oakville, Washington, owned by Andrew's parents. At first, things appeared to be going okay. A caseworker would visit the family at their home to check in, and that would later turn into virtual checks during the pandemic. By mid-2020, the judge would close the case, noting no immediate safety concerns observed. But behind closed doors, according to later court documents and sibling statements uncovered in the investigation, a much different reality was unfolding for Oakley. Life in the home was chaotic, authorities would later learn, allegedly filled with neglect and fear. Oakley and her siblings were routinely abused. The beatings were described as punishment. Food was allegedly withheld. And one of the most disturbing claims that came from her brother was, Oakley would be locked in a small, cage-like space under the stairs. She would cry and scream until she would collapse from exhaustion. There were also reports of drug use in the home. In one instance, around Christmas 2020, Someone reported seeing Oakley with scratches on her face and bruising near her eye. Screaming was also reported coming from their home on multiple occasions. A caseworker was sent out to the house to follow up on these claims and to check on Oakley. But Jordan refused to let the caseworker inside the house. Jordan told them she had fear of CPS. The caseworker could only observe Oakley through a sliding glass door and noted no visible injuries at that time. But the concerns would keep coming. By early 2021, Oakley, then 4 years old, was becoming increasingly isolated from the outside world. She wasn't attending school, and outsiders saw less and less of her. Her last credible sighting by anyone outside the immediate family was on February 10, 2021. In the months that followed, Oakley essentially vanished from the public view. Her parents gave different explanations for where she was. For nearly 10 months after her last sighting, her biological parents did not report her missing. It took a school principal requesting a welfare check on December 6, 2021, for authorities to realize something was wrong. The principal of the school her older sister attended asked her about Oakley, and she told him that, quote, "There is no Oakley," end quote. When police questioned Andrew and Jordan, they gave conflicting and false statements about where their daughter was. For nearly 10 months, the outside world had no idea that Oakley was missing. When Grays County Sheriff's deputies arrived at the family home after the December 2021 welfare check, they quickly realized something was not right. Andrew and Jordan could not produce Oakley, and their explanations about where she was kept changing and would fall apart with simple questioning. They gave conflicting accounts of her whereabouts. First, they claimed Oakley was living with her grandfather, but after following up with him, law enforcement was told he hadn't seen Oakley for almost a year. Their next explanation was she was with another foster family, but that was not true either. What was more concerning were the comments they made during the investigation. One statement referring to Oakley as, quote, "no more." After a little digging and questioning, the detectives described the statements being made were ultimately false. A missing persons case was officially opened, and the investigation was started. They treated the disappearance as highly suspicious from the start. Searches started on the family's large property, reportedly spanning hundreds of acres of wooded and remote land. Deputies, search teams, and dogs combed the area looking for any sign of Oakley. They brought in cadaver dogs, collected evidence, but Oakley was not found. As the detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a troubling pattern. Siblings and others provided statements describing severe punishments, including being locked in a cage, physical abuse, and neglect. On top of that, there were reports of drug use in the home, including methamphetamine exposure affecting the children. In December 2021 and into 2022, both Andrew and Jordan faced charges, but not directly for Oakley's disappearance. They were charged with child endangerment and abandonment of a dependent person related to the other children. Evidence showed that their kids were exposed to controlled substances, and one child had been denied necessary medication for over a year. Andrew pleaded guilty to 2 counts of child endangerment with a controlled substance, and Jordan also faced related convictions. She would also get 43 months in prison on separate identity theft and fraud charges. Jordan has served her time and was recently released in September 2025. When it comes to Oakley, she has never been found. Her sister told investigators that her mom told her Oakley wandered into the woods and was eaten by wolves. The Grays Harbor Sheriff's Department are still actively working the case, and they believe evidence points toward foul play involving those closest to her. They have also said Andrew and Jordan aren't helping with the investigation. In August 2025, more than 4 years after Oakley vanished, a court in Pacific County officially declared Oakley Carlson legally dead. The petition came from the guardian representing her siblings. After Oakley was legally declared dead, the legal declaration triggered a required Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families, or DCYF, review. That review was released in early 2026. The report revealed 14 referrals or warnings about the family over the years. 6 of the reports were not even fully investigated. It highlights the gaps in oversight, documentation, and responses to concerns like family isolation and domestic violence. Get ready to get angry. Because DCYF said, though the agency noted these were improvement opportunities, they are not direct causes of the presumed fatality. Are they serious? We hear about things like this way too many times. It makes me so mad. Oakley's foster mom, Jamie, continues to advocate and push for change to better protect children in similar situations. As of 2026, the investigation remains open and active, with a reward of $100,000. Andrew and Jordan still refuse to fully cooperate. Authorities are encouraging anyone with any information to come forward, no matter how small. Thank you for joining me. Let's find Oakley and bring her the justice she deserves. She was failed by her parents and our system designed to protect her. Please subscribe, like, and comment. It really helps the channel. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.